What about Cloud App Security? Because Microsoft has that product set called Cloud App Security. The product set that we use, SonicWall, has Cloud App Security. But generally, why do we like it so much?
The Cloud App Security on the SonicWall side is going to do more than the Microsoft. It's unfortunately two products that have the same name that do pretty much two different things. But Cloud App Security on the SonicWall side is going to do two things. One is it's going to have a better AI-based and learned behavior-based account takeover protection. It's going to be...
Which we talked about. We talked about the ATO, the account takeover, which is a huge part.
Most of the ACH starts with account takeover of some kind. So it's going to be better in that regard. It's also going to go beyond just Microsoft. So, for example, we can do the account takeover protection and loop in Gmail or G Suite, or we can loop in Salesforce or Box. And so you have a bigger data set. And so whenever you're trying to find anomalies, the bigger and better your data set, the more it will work. So if the SonicWall CAS is able to see those third parties, combine that data with the Microsoft information, it's a lot easier for it to say, hey, that one hit from South Africa was indeed weird.
Yeah.
So from an account takeover protection, it's got a benefit, but it's also the API-based anti-malware. And so what's important about the API-based anti-malware is that it works for the uncontrolled devices. And so if I subvert an iPad and I save bad stuff to my OneDrive, or if I'm the home user where my kid has been playing with that PC, but it's got a big monitor because he play video games, now I want to do some work on it, who knows what junk's on there. But once I do my multi-factor authentication, I get my whole 365 suite or G Suite or what have you. That API-based anti-malware is going to protect the rest of the environment, the rest of my employees. It's going to protect against someone saving it into the Teams document library or the SharePoint document library, and that replicating to the rest of the environment inside and behind all of the security. And so it's going to protect against that. So really the CAS is double hitter.
That API is essentially acts as a real shim layer, but it's more than a shim. It's actually ripping the data out of those third parties, examining that with its own security algorithm, and then allowing the data to flow again. So it's almost like a water filter of sorts. You know, the water department in the local county doesn't just give us the water that the seagulls have been shitting in. It actually runs it through a filtering system, and then we have the option of running it through another filtering system before it hits our mouths.
Yeah, so if you want to use the water analogy, people's home PC is their glass, and you have no idea if the glass is clean or dirty or what's in the glass, or if they filter stuff before they use the glass. API-based Cloud App Security is basically saying before it even comes out of the water pipe, you're fully scanning and fully filtering that water so that you don't care what comes in or out of that pipe and in and out of that glass, because you've injected into that pipe to make sure you feel it is secure. And so if they've got a weird problem in their house and they're back feeding sewage water up the pipe, you've already got a filter that prevents it from getting any further there. So it's kind of a way to reach out and touch endpoint security on endpoints that you have no control over and want no control over. Because the last thing anybody wants to do right now is say, let me go pick up 3,000 uncontrolled home devices and say I'm going to manage it. It's impractical.
Yeah. It's impractical, and it's costly just from the human element of having to staff that. And it's funny, it's not funny, but it is interesting that a lot of people have been dipping their toes in cloud security for years. And now there's no dipping. They got to plunge, and it's forcing everybody's hand. And the thing is that we don't want to go down this path and all of a sudden scale the costs, because already businesses are going to need to be pretty tight coming back to work, and probably for the next year and a half, we're going to feel the effects of this. So being able to have a product set that with the lightest touch can cover as many endpoints as possible has been the holy grail for quite a while for CISOs and CIOs. Very, very cool. Very, very cool.